Well, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started, and Daryl will monitor the door in case more people decide they want to come. And it's been a beautiful evening here with us. So I am Regina McCray. I'm the elections manager. Daryl out there, he is the chief deputy auditor, monitoring the door, and then Zach is our tech guru. Any technical thing, him and Mike will have it. So that's why he's here, because I'm not technically savvy at all. And Amy should be coming soon. She's the election supervisor. Did the introduction. So everyone should have a copy of the observer guidelines. And we're just going to go through that. And I put questions at the end, but if you guys have questions along the way, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and we can do that. We're going to start with the guidelines. And most of you know, because I've seen most of you already through the process of our recount and then the elections. You guys have been there. So, and and I have to say it's great to have people that are interested, involved, and then you guys get the process and you go out and tell other people how the process really works. So it's just really good. And I just want to thank you from our county auditor. Thank you for that you guys put that message out there that no, that's not how that really happens, so we thank you for that. So all aspects of the elections process are open to, any observer, political party, non-political. We have kids come in. We're trying to get some of the high school kids in, but we'll get there. But the general public, anyone's welcome to come and watch the process. Now the political party observers should be appointed by the major party chairpersons. You guys know your party chair people. And so, but when you're in here observing the elections process, you can only direct questions or concerns. If you see something like, hey, that doesn't look right or something, then Paul's usually roaming around. He's the auditor. Daryl's usually, if Paul's not here, Daryl's usually around here running around. I'm usually somewhere nearby because elections is dear to my heart. I have to say that. And then Steve, he's on vacation in Utah right now, but he's the public information officer. So he does the Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. And Amy is the election supervisor. So between me and her, we're somewhere around if you need us. And it's only other permanent staff that you can talk to. You can't interrupt the workers and ask questions. You have to come to us and we can explain what's going on. Okay, so these are just things observers can't do. You can't touch the ballots, the ballot containers, or the election equipment. You can't disrupt the process. And we had that a little bit in the November election where the process got, disrupted, but it was handled. And so we don't ever want to stop the process. We always want to keep going because there's a deadline that we have to meet by state law. Doesn't change, doesn't matter what happened. We have to get ballots done and counted and certified by certain dates. So we keep moving through the process. And then, you can't divulge counts before 8 p.m. on election night. Just watching, one person open a batch means nothing when you have thousands of ballots going through. So, okay. So we've kind of changed how the observers come into the office for going forward. So all observers have to check in at the elections desk and not the side door. You would ring the side door. Now you're going to come in through the office and check in at the auditor's office in the elections part. Observers you'll be issued a vest and you must wear it when you're observing. That way we know. We had so many observers last November. We didn't know who was who because we had a lot of new workers too. So it was like, okay, we need to distinguish between who is who. And so we ordered some vests. So you guys will be wearing vests. Yes, ma'am. They'll get, it's a.
Yeah, there's a new that we have for observers. It's bordered in yellow. It's something that we use. And that's required as well. So the vest and the badge.
Yeah. And so personal belongings are not allowed in the processing room, the tabulation room, which is where we process the ballot. Our processing room, we process the ballots. Tabulation is where they're counted, or the signature verification area. So I have lockers now in that hallway out there, so you can put your stuff in there. keep it out of the way. Yes.
Does that include like a bottle of water? Can we have a bottle of water before?
I think so, as long as the cap is on it. And then remember to sign in and out each time. That was, like I said, it was hard for November, people coming and going, and we didn't know which way was up, but we got it done. So anyway, just remember to sign in and out each time at the front desk. Before we even get to that, hey, Daryl, you want to tell them about the new building we're getting?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So we actually have a new processing center that is, well, the one you use the mic. That's right, we're being recorded. So we actually have a new processing center that will be developed by next year. It's a much larger facility. For those of you that have been observers in the past, you know that our ballot processing area is actually one of the smallest ones in the state, especially for counties our size. And if you participated in the recount last year, you know that happened in here. And it was so much easier to have a large enough space. People weren't on top of each other. There weren't the security issues, concerns and all that sort of stuff. So we've actually partnered with the Department of Emergency Management of the county and the county commissioners and the Secretary of State's office. And we have a new ballot processing room it will be out out near the airport. It again will be secure, even more secure than we have now, but a lot larger space. Once the permits have just been approved last week. It's within the city limits of Bremerton, so it's the city of Bremerton that's permitting it, permitting the construction on it, and we're actually remodeling a building, a current building, not building a new building. And because of the way we're able to partner with the Department of Emergency Management and the county commissioners, we're able to do something that would probably cost, $1.5 million, $2 million to do if we did it all by ourselves. And the actual cost to the elections department is going to be less than a third of it. When we do actually have it finished, of course, there'll be lots of invitations to go tour it and everything. You'll have all the same access that you do here, but also much more unfettered when you're inside. A lot more room. We're really looking forward to it.
Thank you. You really are. Okay, so what to observe? So we have 3 vote centers. One of them is here. We have one out in Paulsville at the Paulsville Fire Station, and then we have one in Bremerton at the Marvin Williams Center. And so for this election, they'll be open the Saturday and Monday before the election from 8:30 to 4:30. And then, of course, election day at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you can go observe there if you wish to. You can observe the processing room where we're processing the ballots. And, if I say any questions, talk to a permanent staff member. You can go and check out the signature verification area, which is outside of the auditor's office. You can go into the ballot scanning. I know some counties don't allow you into the ballot scanning room, but we allow, because that's small too. But we do allow people in there so you can watch the ballots being scanned, or you can stand outside now and watch from the TV screen that we have how the ballots are scanned and how they adjudicate and all that. So that's pretty cool. And then we have the random batch audit. And so the day of election, what we do is whatever ballots have not been scanned into the tabulation system, we put all our ballots have batch numbers to them. And usually a batch of 200 or less. And so we'll take account of all those ballots that are there that morning by their batch numbers, and we'll draw out 6 of those random batches. And then we count those to make sure that the count that the machine says is actually what was marked on the ballot. And so we usually do that the day after election. And then we have the risk limiting audit with the Secretary of State. So the first time we tried this, we really had no idea what we were doing, but she came in and helped us. And so it gets down to the nitty gritty of, okay, go to this box, find this ballot, go down 30, find this ballot, and we're going to verify that that ballot matches what was counted. So that was kind of interesting for us. So we got to see them. So we have to coordinate with them, you know, when we do that, but it's very interesting to process that. Any questions? Yes. Yes, so the random batch audit is law. We have to do the random batch audit. The risk limiting audit is an option for the counties. We're thinking they're going to make it a law pretty soon. So we're just preparing before the law comes into effect. Yeah. Yes.
Actually do all audits throughout the whole process, checking stamp quality, all of the quality assurance stuff that you need to do to make sure that we aren't finding any problems or discrepancies. Do that throughout the whole action.
Yeah. So like when your signature checking is usually 300 in a batch. And so what we do is Amy or myself or we'll go through and we'll audit at least 10% of those batches. So before they sort them by their precinct or CP numbers, we'll go in and pull up those ballots and audit and see if they missed any. And, you know, so that's part of our auditing process. When we duplicate ballots, someone else verifies that the ballots are duplicated correctly. So there's a lot of auditing going on as we go through the election. So whenever the voter intent is not clear, and you guys have seen that, sometimes they just don't fill out their ballot correctly. And so we consult, we have a statewide voters intent manual, and we look at that. If it's not in there, then it goes to the canvassing board, and those are the only three who can accept or reject a ballot. And so this book, we usually keep out for people to look at, but you know, if there's a write-in question, like sometimes they'll put Mark Brown is on the ballot, and then they'll go to the write-in box and mark Brown again. Well, it's not an overvote. It's a vote for that candidate because they were already on the ballot. So those are things that the voter intent manual helps the voters or help the workers understand, like how to process a ballot. So marks not consistent with instructions. We have lots of those. Sometimes they won't fill in the box. They'll make an arrow or they'll circle the name of the person they want, the candidate. So yeah, it's interesting. There's voter notes on there. You know, if they made a mistake, they'll say, oh no, I meant this one. Okay, so as long as we can understand that. Yes. No, so like the one with the Mark Brown and Mark Brown.
Yeah.
So what will happen is, so when you're doing your batch of 200, let's say 180 of them are usually good. 20 of them are going to go to further review. So when you get to further review, 2 people are going to look at that ballot and say, okay, what's wrong with it? Okay, so Mark Brown is on her twice. So when it goes into the tabulation room, those ballots go on top. Well, actually, they're going to see it if it's marked. If both boxes are marked, they're going to see it. They're going to look at it and go, oh, this is a vote for Mark Brown, and deselect the write-in candidate part. Or sometimes they'll put a name and don't select the box for write-in. Then we would have to put those on top of the further review ballots. So the team that's doing the adjudication, they can say, oh, we need to fix this one here. So yeah. So any.
Oh, yeah, it's locked, but you gotta make sure it's right.
But I thought, you know, you might need to duplicate to put them through the machine.
Oh, we used to a lot. When I first started, we did a lot of duplicating. Yeah, up to like, yeah, thousands. Now we don't do that many anymore, you know, because the machine can handle what, you know, yes, exactly. So like I said, anything not in the intent manual goes to the canvassing board, and that's the county auditor, county prosecutor, and one of the commissioners, and they make the final determination on those ballots that we questioned. So the ballot program and testing. So all the ballot layout, programming, testing, and tabulation are completed by our technology analyst, and Zach is one of those. Like I say, he's awesome. And they do the software and so the software and hardware are both federally and state certified. So we can't have machines in there if they haven't gone through the federal certification and then again through the state certification. And that's with all counties. And this includes a hash test of all tabulation computers and touch writers. And we have touch writers, and it's just an electronic marking device. It's not, it doesn't hold votes or anything like that. It's just if you don't want to, if someone comes in and they want to use that machine, all it's going to do, they're going to pick their choices and it's going to spit out a ballot based on their choices. Yes.
That you're saying that all software and hardware are both federally and state certified.
Yes.
So my question is, when you tabulate and you download into a thumb drive that you use to send to the Secretary of State, is that thumb drive, all the hardware and software that's embedded, is that federally and state certified, the thumb drive itself?
I think,
We don't actually send thumb drives.
no, he's saying when we upload it to the state.
Oh, okay.
State sends us thumb drives. I know that for a fact. I don't know, Zach, about,
That's the one.
I can't hear you. What?
We get the thumb drive
From the state. So the state does whatever they need to do on
The
that.
federal government hasn't certified that thumb drive. Is my question, is it federal, does the federal government and the state government certify the thumb drive that used to transmit our data to the Secretary of State?
That's a good question. We can find out. I don't know. You can write that down and we'll find out. Okay, thank you.
That's good answer. I don't know.
I don't know. So yes, so we'll find that and we'll get back to you on that one. So, you know, they go through several days of testing and staff training prior to the logic and accuracy test. And the logic and accuracy test, the parties know how that works. And so I'll get to the next slide on that. So anyway, so we changed one of the rules. So in our tabulation room where we tabulate the ballots, we used to have just during the election season, 2 people had to use their badge to get into that room. Well, we just changed it where it's year round. That, you know, 2 people have to use their badge to get into that room because equipment is kept there. And so, yeah, so we just changed that rule. And here's so last year, Paul came up with this brilliant idea to do an independent third-party logic and accuracy test. And so both parties, major parties, came in and did their testing. They marked the ballot, test ballot, how they wanted it to be marked. And they showed the matrix of the number of precincts, the splits in each contest in the election per party, and the counting system report and the matrix total matched. And that just shows again that the votes are being counted correctly. And that's what we want more than anything, is votes are counted correctly. So we had no discrepancies between the LNA and the counting system for each party. And that's what we do. We go through the same testing and make sure that, you know, the ballots are being tallied correctly. Any questions? So we just did an LNA last week. And it's a video online if you don't watch it. It's kind of boring, but you know, you're more than welcome to watch it. Yes. Yes.
So when you did the LNA last week, I asked, another gentleman,
Michael?
yeah, Mike. So you have a unique number on a ballot, and it was like 22 ballots, machine scanned them. If the unique identifier to that, assigned to that ballot, if it was duplicated, he said it would automatically kick it out, which I think that's the way it's supposed to work.
It is.
But it'd be really nice to see a trial run of that in fact actually happening. And because then that verifies the accuracy of the machine. There is a duplicate unique identifier. They would kick it out, and we didn't see that. We just manually looked at the screen. Here's the numbers, alphanumeric number, and they all went in the order, and there was no identical ones, and everything was good. And you know, you registered the overvotes, the undervotes, etc., but it never kicked it out. So I wanted to address that question to the state to see that's possible to happen, because that even gain more confidence in the systems. Now,
So I can tell you.
Yeah, well, I bet you want to see this.
Done that.
Yeah, I want to see it happen.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's what we should bring up with you.
I can tell you it's happened.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We've seen it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, our count was off and we're like, well, are we out? And we found out that, one of the batches somehow got counted on another machine. And it was like, wait, and so, yeah.
I mean, it'd be a simple backup saying that, yeah, this thing is right on the money.
And that's a good point. We can bring up to the state because they're the one who mandates how we do our LNA test. So that would be a good one. Okay, yes.
You might be getting onto this, but so stop me if you're already going to go on this track, but I noticed that so far, we're talking about the verification of what happens once we actually physically have the ballot in hand. But then there goes on the part about, okay, the process of it getting there, you know, the whole chain of custody bit. Is there any observing of that entire process?
Well, you can observe anything you want. You can go to the ballot box and watch. We have a team of 2, sometimes 3, go to each ballot box and they, take the seal off, unlock it, put the ballots in the box, seal the boxes back up and bring them back. We have trackers in the box and in the, I don't think we have them in the vans. We have the 2 vans that goes out the 2 weeks before the election. They have them in there. We track them. If they got into an accident, we need to know where those ballots are so we can go get those ballots. But those ballots, if someone were to try to get into the box, the seals that we use, when you peel it off, it says void. And we found out in the last election, the ones we had weren't as good as the ones we used to have. So we ordered new ones and they work great. So when you peel it off, it says void. So we would know someone at least tried to get into that machine and they take our box and they take a special kind of key to get in the box to do that. And so the teams on election night, for instance, we have 24 teams going out to all the boxes to collect ballots. And so what they'll do is they leave here. When they get to the box, they'll call us and say, hey, we're here, just so we know they're there. And then when they get all the boxes, all the ballots in the box and sealed, they'll call us and say, okay, we're on our way. So we kind of gauge like what time, and we kind of know what time they should be back unless something happens.
You are observing the balance,
Right.
observing the pickup, following our,
Yeah.
pickup team. Yeah, that's all. There's nothing stopping people.
No, I mean,
It's none of it's secret.
And we do all Dropbox. We don't depend on post office doing special things.
so the post office, the ballots that go through the mail, they put them in one of their mail trays for us in the same order, like facing the signature part of the envelope. And then we go and pick them up. 2 people go pick them up. They count them for us. And then we verify when we get to the post office that, okay, yeah, this is how many ballots there are. And then we seal up the ballots and bring them back here. So, yeah. And, somebody can call and say, hey, I didn't get my ballot. We would just suspend that ballot that's out there and then issue them a new ballot. Yes.
No, and these are all sealed in envelopes, so nobody knows what the votes are inside there, but from when you put it in your mailbox or the post office mailbox, it's just the same as all other people. There's not an individual tracking on each ballot. But once they come into our possession, then they're, and once again, then none of these ballots are open, and envelopes are open. That's all done under supervision. But we always have 2 people, always, at least 2 people in that process. But yeah, there's not a tracker on your individual ballot.
But that's not what I was asking. I was asking that, because they were just describing how when the ballots get to the post office, you were just describing how they file them. Is that how?
They separate them out from the other mail. Put them in trays.
Yes.
They put them in what?
Trays, mail trays. Yes. Yes. No, no,
No,
no.
and we always encourage people to, their ballots and secure ballots. That's the most secure way. If you're concerned about that, that's the most secure way, or even more secure, you know, bring it right here, or one of the vote centers. But once it's in our hands, there is a definite, documented chain of custody.
Yes, and then you can go online and see if we received your ballot or not. So, yeah, so. Let's see, what was I at? So anyway, through the matrix, if something's off, like, you know, when I used to do it, we forgot to mark the other side of the ballot. So when they ran through, it's like, oh, something's wrong. Oh, we didn't mark the other side of the ballot. So we had to go and correct that and then run them through again and it came out correctly. And that's open for observation too, you guys have been a part of that. So the initial ballot processing. So ballots went to the post office yesterday. Daryl already got his ballot in the mail today. So, oh, yay, yay. You in Seabeck? I didn't get mine. I'm in Port Orchard. Okay. So anyway, so starting Monday, we're going to have our leads, and the leads are ones that they kind of walk the floor and make sure everyone's doing their work okay. People have questions. The workers, they'll answer their questions or come and get one of us if they have questions that they can't answer. So they come in for their training on Monday. And then once they get done with their training, then they'll start with, you know, someone's going to go to the post office, get the ballots, and we'll just get them ready for the next day when the rest of the crew comes in. And so we'll be working 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, or as workflow allows. Like, we hope a lot of people return the ballot, but it's an odd year. We're looking at maybe 33%. I'm hoping more, but that's the, yeah, that's the, we look at the trends from the prior years and yeah, it is. So the staff, we have 2 people go to the post office and retrieve the ballots from the post office, and also with the going out to the different boxes, we have 2 people go out there, sometimes 3. Like especially in the presidential election, we may have 3 people go out to like the Silverdale, Bainbridge, Paulsbo, the busy offices, the library. We'll have to have 3 people because there's a lot of ballots in there and we want to get them back. So once they do that, bring them back in. The ballots are scanned into the machine, and then they're capture the signature. That's the first thing we do, is capture signatures on the ballot envelope. And then once that happens, the files are transferred into the election system. And then the people go out, the workers go out and then to the outside area, outside the processing room, and then they'll verify those signatures. And what they're looking at is when you register to vote, or if you came in and updated your signature, they're looking at that known signature versus what's on that ballot. And either matches or it doesn't. And, you know, and I've done plenty of signature checking. So it's like, as soon as you pull up the 4, it's like, oh yeah, that match. Yeah, that, wait, you know, we tell our workers, I'd rather you challenge a ballot. I don't care if you're that much unsure, challenge it, because we have experienced staff up front who will, the ballot will be looked at 3 or 4 times before it's released. But the ones that where the signature match, they just go through the normal process. But if there's a challenge or they forgot to sign their ballot, or we usually get husband and wife signing each other's ballot envelopes. So yeah. So then the ballots are sorted by their CP, and CP is consolidated precinct. Yes.
Could you say a little more about what the sorter actually does? For instance, envelope size.
Oh yeah. So the sorter's pretty smart. We weigh the envelope so it knows what size envelope should be. If it does a signature where if the signature's not on there, we used to have that function. We took that function off because it wasn't that great, but it'll check, dimensions are off, the weight is off. It'll kick it out if the ballot has been suspended. So you call and say, I didn't get my ballot. We're going to suspend your ballot that's out there, issue you a new ballot. So if I got my ballot. Well, we've already suspended it. So we're going to, when it goes through the machine, it's going to kick it out because it's like, that's not the current ballot. So that stops that process. Let's see. And so again, signatures are verified, 10% of which are audited. And then ballots are sorted again by their consolidated precincts, and that means like CP4, it's all of Bainbridge. So we had to do a recount on Bainbridge. We would just go find all the boxes with CP4s on them. So that makes it easier for us instead of having to go and get everything, which we had to do in November, but that's okay. It was a good test. So each ballot, tray of ballots, they get a tracking slip and they're pre-inspected. So each ballot, each batch has to have a tracking slip, and that's how we keep track of where the ballots are in the system. You know, I can say, okay, you know, I guess I should go a little bit more into that. So once they're sorted, then the ballots are open on top, just a letter opened. And then they're in batches of 200 at that point. And then they'll give them a batch number. So it'll be the batch number, what CP they're in, and how many's in that batch. So you know right off the bat, okay, I have 200 ballots in here. And then you're going to go check that batch out. So I can say, okay, I know Vinton checked that batch out. What'd you do then? You know, so that's how we figure out who does what. And so once you check it out, then you're going to go sit down. The first thing you're going to do is count that batch to make sure you actually have 200 envelopes in there. Because sometimes the machine can get a little wonky. And it's like, oh, wait, I only have 199. So what we do is we pull that tray off the floor and tell them to get another batch, because we need to research and figure out why that batch is off. And usually it's someone says, oh, I have 201. So yeah, so we go through that whole process of making sure each batch is correct. Yes.
I'm just gonna say, you also, when they go out for signature verification, I know those ballots are held and they're not given to anybody until after that verification is
Right,
done.
yeah,
Yeah, they don't go through the folder or anything.
nothing, no.
They are sealed. A ballot envelope is sealed until the signature has been cleared.
Yes, yes. And so even the challenge ballots, the one that where they didn't sign or someone else signed or whatever the case may be, those are never open until we get a notice back from this, you know, voter. Oh yeah, here's my updated signature or whatever. Those ballots never get opened. And so if they don't respond to our notice, they never get opened. They just go to canvassing board to be rejected, because we can't do anything with it if you don't respond to our notices. And like again, so when they're doing the batch of 200, so the first thing they'll do is they'll count, and then they'll remove the lavender from the secrecy sleeve, tie up the lavenders, put them aside, and that way we don't want people to know, oh, I can figure out how you voted because I can. No, you put the lavenders up, and then you're going to separate the secrecy sleeve from the ballot itself. And once you do that, you're going to tie up the secrecy sleeves and put those aside. So all you're left with is folded ballots, and you're going to go through. And some people do it differently. Some people unfold them all first, and some people, they look at each one at a time and, oh yeah, this will go through. Oh wait, some people, they'll get a little happy with their marking. They'll mark in the barcode. Well, if it's anything's in the barcode, the machine's going to kick it out. So those are further review issues that need to go. And that one would be duplicated because the machine's not going to read it at all. So yeah. Let's see. And ballot security is always maintained. That's just what we do. You know, it's just, you know, can't stress enough, you know, how important it is that we get it right. Have we screwed up before? Yeah, we have. But we try to make it right, and we try to, okay, we learn from our mistakes. We try not to have any, but, you know, we're humans. This is a human process. And we bring in new workers all the time. And so we're training them and training and training and training. And so, yeah. Okay, signature verification. So Washington state law. So all workers assigned to verify signatures receive signature verification training by Washington State Patrol, which is online, which was in here today, this afternoon, from 1 to 3. And they go through the whole process of how to look for and what to look for in verifying signatures. And some of the things they tell us is, you know, the same style and general appearance. You know, like for me, when I do my name, it's R and it's always a space. Never together. That's just how I do it. So you look at those, you don't look at the first letter in the name, but you look at the general flow of the name, and that'll tell you, oh yeah, that's them. You know, proportion of the letters, height, width, irregular spacing, slant, size, style, slow placement, alignment, you know, distinct or unusual traits. I have a coworker, she signs her name and she always puts a smiley face. That's her signature, you know. it's her name, but it's her signature above her name. That's just how she signs her name. Natural variation exists. You know, when you're getting older, sometimes things will change a little bit. And if we see that, we'll send out a note and say, hey, your signature look like it's changed, you know, can we get a new updated signature? We put that signature in your file. So like I said, some people have 10, 15 signatures because, you know, maybe something happened in life and their signatures have changed. So we try to capture that. And then what Paul had to start doing was all the people whose signatures didn't match, let's say last November, we sent out a notice before the next election, which is August coming up, saying, hey, can we get a new updated signature if they didn't respond to our original one? That way we're trying to stay on top of the signatures. People's signatures do change. And again, a single trait is insufficient for validation. So you can't just look at the first letter and go, oh, yeah, that's them. No. I don't know if you guys can see this. So what you're looking at is when there's signature verification, right on the top, it says 299 ballots. That's how many's in this batch, because when you're signature checking, it's 300 in a batch, up to 300. And so you get 4 names up top, and like this one is Michael something. And so you're looking at the envelope signature versus the signature that's already in the vote registration system. So you're matching those 2 signatures, and either it matches or it doesn't. And they match.
Where do you get the original signature?
When you register to vote, or if you go to driver's license and you register there, or they'll ask you if you want to register, they'll capture that signature. Yes, yes. So like that first one, I know that came from driver's license. Yeah, I find
131.
I still find that hard to believe because someone, it has to match somewhere. You have to have a voter to a ballot. No one just gets dump ballots into a box and say, you know, here's all these ballots, count them without knowing who the voter is. Yes. Yes, you are.
And I'm very confident. Really, I was just amazed at all of the verification that goes on. But the signature verification part was the weaker, I thought. Because when I observed the workers doing it, they're on the screens, on the monitors. It's like you mentioned, you see husband wives switch up. That's what I believe I saw, because on the first screen of 4, it was a woman's name that was printed, but yet it was a man's signature. And then like maybe the next screen or the next screen was the opposite. So it probably was a husband wife, but both of those were accepted. So
But that's why we go back and.
That's why we go back in and audit. Just
right, but it's only a 10% on it.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
So my concern is that they were, and I brought it up. I voiced my concern that they were just going too fast. And then they say, oh, well, they've been doing it a long time, they can do it fast. But not when I see errors. Not when I look and I'm going, really, that was acceptable, you know, and it really didn't look like it. I sat through, I came early last year and I got to sit through some training that the workers had. And one of them was the signature thing, and they had to do the sheet and everything. And so I'd seen what they had looked at, and it just seemed that they did it so fast that they just needed to slow down.
Yeah, and some of them, I mean, we tell them, you know, so like for me, I can do this pretty quick because I've been doing it for a long time. It's like, I'm looking at the top signature, bottom signature.
Yeah.
Either it matches or it doesn't, and you just go like that. So it's not a long time. I don't know how many seconds it is, but you know, we do tell people to slow down, make sure you're looking. The biggest thing again is the husband, wife, Michael and Michelle.
Yeah, you have to look at that printed.
You have to
name
look at
above.
that, yes.
Yes.
And that's what we train them. So you look at the name, the first name especially, and make sure it's not Michelle instead of Michael.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're constantly training on. So we try to go back and, you know, sometimes what happens is the husbands will go through as accepted, but the wife's was challenged. So now we got to go back and find that ballot. Well, we know where it is and, swap the labels so the husband and wife both get their credit. And if they don't, if one returns it with the other one's name on it and the other one doesn't return, then we have to wait till 7 days after the election to give that person that credit, and the other credit comes off of the other person.
For quality assurance standards, they audit 1.5 to 2%. We audit 10%. Now, the auditing 10% gives us the highest chance of finding regular systemic problems. So that we can, go back to training and, or pull somebody off. I'm sorry, you didn't have to be training, you aren't doing signatures anymore.
I've done
things like that.
I've done that.
And another thing that helps protect in that is that, there are going to be anomalies in every process. But we have laws that set out that if the election is within a certain amount, then there has to be a recount. And whenever we've done recounts, we will find, 1 or 2 out of 30,000, right?
Yeah.
So we know through testing that we're getting accurate elections.
Yeah, but I get the,
Yeah.
and there's
Then
people,
it did
yeah,
slow
just slow down just a
Yeah.
tad bit. Yeah, some people, yeah, I get that. Yes. Yeah, so what we did was we asked our vendor, because like I said, husband and wives usually are, the family of 5 gets all their ballots and they just grab a ballot. And it's like, don't you look at the name? Apparently not. So anyway, so we asked the vendor starting November going forward, if they would put the voter's name underneath the signature line, so they can at least see their name. Go, oh, yeah. Oh, wait, this is your ballot. So
That's good.
we'll see if that works.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so the opening batches, so I've pretty much gone through all that, but the ballots are sorted into batches by consolidated precincts. They're assigned a tracking number. The election workers checks out the batch. The ballot and secrecy are separated from the return envelopes. Ballots are reviewed to determine if they're ready to scan or if they require further review. Like I said, for further review, if there's damage, if there's pencils, we know the machine can pick up pencil, but sometimes the pencil has like is it like a shininess to it, and maybe the machine might not pick it up. We want to be safe and say, put it to further review, and we'll look at it with 2 people. And when those go to the tabulation room, we put those on top and put a paperclip on them and say, you need to look at these ones manually to make sure the machine counts those votes correctly, especially when it's pencil. Overvotes, whiteout, we tell them go to further review because we don't want the whiteout to get on one of the rollers on the machine and miss a vote. So that's one that would be duplicated. Stray marks, like I said, in the barcode, or, if they marked in 2 boxes, we got to figure out, okay, did they mean that? Or, so yeah. And like I said, the barcode issues is usually the main one. And then ballots. Yes, I'm sorry. Overvote is if you and Bob are on the ballot and they voted for you and Bob in one contest. That's an overvote. Yeah. So each contest is one. Yeah, you don't have to vote your whole ballot, and a lot of people don't. For the last presidential election we had, some people just voted for the president. That's all they wanted to vote for. No, oh, no, not at all. Because remember, the ballots aren't even open till after they've been scanned in, signature checked, and you've gotten credit for that ballot already because, we're at that opening process. And so, yeah, we get people, they just send in a blank ballot, but they got credit for voting. This is what people do. Yes.
And something just maybe if everyone here spreads the word is that what I notice is so many people, they didn't leave them blank. they wrote in Joe Blow, I mean, crazy names, Felix the cat. That causes that ballot to go for review, which causes more work and slows the whole process.
Sure does.
So people stop writing crazy stuff in there and just leave it alone. It would speed up the whole process.
Yes. That's why I like spring elections. We don't have that write-in line. But for August and November, we do. Yes.
Legislatures constantly improving. One of the improvements that we all love in elections, that we have to tally each individual write-in, even if they weren't a write-in candidate. So we are having to count how many times.
Yes.
And then a few years ago, they actually changed the law, so you don't have to tally any write-in candidates unless they're registered write-in candidates. That's a ton
Tons of time.
but but people do get creative with what they write in.
They do.
Some of them choose each individual.
Oh, when Disney characters.
Yeah.
Disney characters. Yeah.
When we had the governor's race where it was 27 candidates, some people voted for every person in that race. Well, that's an overvote, so your vote don't count. So it's just, we try to educate our voters, but they're going to do what they want to do. It's their ballot. So we just count what we can. So ballot duplication, any ballot that cannot be scanned into the tabulation system has to be duplicated. And again, it's damaged. We used to have one lady, she always sent in the sample ballot. She wouldn't send in her regular ballot. She would cut the page, the sample ballot out of the local voters pamphlet. And that's what she would send in every election. But we couldn't count it because she never sent in the signature for declaration. So we'd send her form, say you need to sign this form in order for your ballot to be counted. And sometimes she did and sometimes she didn't, but she always sends in that sample ballot.
And there's nothing illegal.
No,
That's a perfectly valid way.
yeah, they can pull it out envelope if they want it. Yeah. Yeah.
A person can take a piece of paper
Mhm.
and use that, make their own ballot. And that, we're a voter intent state. Our charge is to do our best to find out what the voters intent is. Well, if they write on a piece of paper, I am voting for, whoever the person is. And then that goes in, there's still an envelope with the signature verification. That's a valid vote.
Mhm.
They have voted. It
Yeah.
just takes us longer to process.
It does.
So that's why, we may have, 95% of our ballots in hand, 8 o'clock on election night. I mean, so we still have, towards the end, sometimes the voting updates are 3 or 4 votes have been processed. That, it just slows down the system. At least they're not counted. They're not valid. It just takes us longer to count it.
Are the saddest ones for me is the one who send in their ballot and nothing else. We can't contact them because we don't know who they are because they just dropped the ballot in the box. There's nothing we can do with that. So a ballot can be duplicated only if the voter intent can be clearly determined, and that's based off our voter intent book. And again, if we can't determine that vote, it goes to Canvas and they decide. 2 people always work together when they're duplicating. We have an audit log of all duplicated ballots. The audit number and the worker's initials are recorded on the damaged ballot and the new ballot that they have to duplicate. So we could go back and say, if looking at something, we can go back and say, okay, these 2 people do this. We need to go retrain them on how to do something. When the second team comes in and say, hey, they did this wrong. And so that helps us again with our audits. And so, yeah. So again, we have 25 drop boxes throughout the county, but I only said 24 earlier because we have one inside our room. So we just have two people go out and lock that at the 8 o'clock. Each box has a special key to lock and unlock. Teams of 2, sometimes 3, will be out picking up ballots every other day up until election. So they'll start Friday. They'll go out Friday, or we're gonna start on Monday. Monday. So they'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the 2 weeks, and then election week, they'll go out Monday, Tuesday, and what we do is the day after election, we send a crew out there to go to all the ballot boxes to make sure there's no ballots left or the boxes were locked, just to make sure everything's okay. Let's see. Yeah, election night, 25 teams or 24 teams. Sometimes again, with 2 or 3, we'll be picking up ballots. Seals will read void after being removed so that we can tell if someone tampered with the box. Each box has a tracker that we can monitor from the office, and each daily team that goes out, they have a tracker in the van as well. And then trackers will be in ballot boxes on election night so we can monitor the pickup teams as they leave and return. Again, if there's an accident, we know we need to go get those ballots. So yeah. And then return statistics. So normally Steve posts the returns, how many ballots we got for that day as we process them. He's on vacation, but he'll start posting by the 20th, by 5 most days that we're processing. And the return statistics include only the number of accepted ballots, because you'll have accepted and you'll have, review? A review at first, and it'll go to no match, unsigned, or whatever the category is, but it's the accepted ballots that you'll see on the website. And the results, 8:15 is usually by the time we are done tabulating and we can upload it to the site. And then initial results, yes. And then subsequent results posted usually by 5 each day, or as we get ballots, as we process ballots. And the random batch audit. So we're required by law to do this one. So what we do is a single race is randomly selected from all the countywide races, or 3 races from the 6 batches selected. So that's going to be interesting because we have no county races, countywide races. So out of the 6 batches, 3 of those 6 batches have to have the same race on it. And I guess if that's not the case, we're just gonna have to draw one of the races in order to count that one. The random batch are scanned and secured separate from other batches. So once we pull those 6 batches out, Michael or Zach will scan them on a different machine, get that total, and the only person that sees it is me at that point. And then the next day, we'll have a team of 2. They're going to hand count those ballots to make sure the machine count is correct. And that, I can tell you, is nerve-wracking because you have people watching you, it's on video, and you want to make sure the count is right, but we get it done. Yes.
So last year, it called later and asked about this because, at that audit, they did the sheriff's race. And I think that was a lot of confusion and why maybe the recount happened, is that at that audit, it was like a slip of what actually the end result was percentage wise. And he explained to me, and then that's because those batches came from the ones that
For the reviews.
for reviews. And he said, well, if you think about it, the Secretary of State race had a lot of write-ins, and the write-ins would have been Republican. So there were a lot of Republican votes in those review stacks.
Yes.
And so that's why in that audit, it appeared that Mr. Coos had 60-some%, while the other guy, yeah, Mr. Geese had his 40, whatever. But so that was, I think that was really confusing for people to see that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I know you guys do it from the reviewed ones, but is there any way of doing that not using the review stack?
No matter what random batches choose, it's not a statistical sampling of the results.
Right.
It'll never have any relationship to results.
because you're looking at,
The audit is doing is verifying that the machine is counting those ballots correctly.
so you figure out of 600 ballots,
Right,
out of how many, 127,000 ballots?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, yeah,
It's testing the equipment.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now maybe, when, I know I was there when they ran that, maybe somebody, would explain just that it's not as statistically, yeah, and it's just doing what you're talking about, the vote, how it's
Yeah.
voted.
We're making sure the vote was counted correctly. I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So like again, so within 48 hours after election day, we do the manual count of the actual paper ballots and compare them to what the machine said. So far, we've been spot on. Yeah. The risk limiting audit. I'm not sure if I understand this completely, but we did it for the first time last year, and it's very, like I said, it's very interesting how it gets down to a certain ballot and you do that. So that was interesting to me. So we do have the option of performing it. Like, again, we think they're going to make us, it's going to go mandatory at some point. So we want to be in on the know of how to do it before they actually make it mandatory. And one of the ladies from the Secretary of State, Hannah, comes down and she walks us through it, and Michael and Zach talk to her and, figure out like, what is it that we need to do? And so the first time was like, we missed a step somewhere. So we had to go back. And anyway, she came in and helped us. And so they have a down pat now. So a risk limiting audit uses statistics to confirm election outcomes. Ballots are randomly selected and hand tallied one by one until enough have been sampled to confirm that the correct winner was found the first time. And if the winner won by a lot of votes, the sample needed to confirm may be quite small. If the race is close, more ballots will be examined. And so she tells us how many ballots we need to go pull. So it's kind of different for us, but we did it. And then the canvassing board, county commissioner, prosecuting attorney, and the auditor, or they can designate someone, like when Paul was on the ballot, Daryl was on the canvassing board. They're the only entity with the authority to reject a ballot. We challenge them, but we don't have the final say so when we're working the room back there. They're the only ones who can reject ballots. And they are ones to determine if a challenged ballot can count or not. They certify the final election results. And for this election, it's August 14th and 15th at 9 in this room here. So, yes. State law. State law. They take turns. Mhm. Yes. The county chair.
That is usually who sits on the canvassing board that year, unless, of course, they're on the ballot. That would be somebody, one of the other. If you go to charter counties where they have county commission of 9 or 13 or 11, it's again, whoever the chair is, it's the representative, it's, the lead representative of that legislature.
So recounts, and a lot of you know about the recounts because we did one last November. So it's only after the election is certified, and the machine, if we have a machine recount, it will be because the difference is less than 2,000 votes and one half of 1%. A manual is if the difference is less than a quarter of 1%, and local races less than 150 votes, statewide less than 1,000 votes. And the written request no later than 2 days after certification. Now, we got notice from the state that, yes. Oh, sorry. So we got notification from the state that a party like Rick Coos could have asked for the recount But what was it? They didn't, they said the recount shouldn't have happened because of it wasn't a part of the political party who asked for that request. And so we trying to get clarification on that in case it happens again, but so yeah. Yeah, we did. Yes.
Actually, our Secretary of State's office on whether that particular was allowed to make the request without thinking one of the candidates being part of the group.
And actually, it was a great exercise for us, you know, and making,
It was.
yeah, it was really good to have everything come together. Amy did a great job, by the way, her and Zach, and the whole team did, but, you know, just being able to go back and go through all the ballots and, you know, I mean, we were, what, 5-vote change? You know, so yeah, it was pretty awesome. And our workers, they're so great. They love to come back. One of my workers were like, there's gonna be 5 elections next year, right? Well, we know there'll be 3, you know, but so they just get excited because they love what they do, because it just gives, you know, you're giving back to the community. And that's what we tell people, apply for the job. You know, it's really rewarding. So write-ins. Write-ins must file a declaration to have votes tallied for a race. We are so thankful for that. All write-in votes, declared or not, are grouped together for initial results. Only if there are enough total write-in votes in the race to change the apparent outcome will we have to begin a tally of those declared candidates. If there are enough total write-in votes, then final tabulation will display each individual tally for the declared candidate. And if there's not enough total write-in votes to overcome the apparent winner, then we don't have to tally. Individual tally will not occur. The only other time I know of a write-in candidate won was, it was a small port district and he forgot to file during filing week. So he went out and did a campaign. He went around the neighborhood and he actually won the contest. So yeah. Questions?
Go back over the personal belongings and what we can not bring anything into the process. Like you know me, I've always taken and my notes. And I've always got cell phone.
No, yeah, I think it's just no bags. If you have your cell phone, because most people have their cell phones on, you need to take that outside of the room. If you're having conversations with someone, you need to take that outside of the room because it's disturbing the workers, you know, but I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just if you have a bag.
Lunch bag, backpacks. That they were saying there's a risk that, but there was no suspicion, but there was a risk that that people could put stuff inside. And bring stuff in. Yes.
Yes. Yes, Chuck.
If you comment on taking pictures, the tally in room with either a cell phone or any other object where they can and cannot take any pictures.
No, there's no camera taking in the rooms at all.
But cell phone.
That's true.
They're not allowed to take any pictures.
No.
I know I asked, like the board that you guys put up every day, I'd asked for that, and they allowed me to do that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, in fact, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah, there are, the general is you're not taking pictures in there, but like that was a special circumstance. And I was able to watch you do it and ensure that you were taking a picture of the board, not of ballots or signatures or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and health record,
Yes.
so that means I can ensure the video, right?
Yes. Yeah, but none of the videos are showing close-ups of ballots. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
just a little detail on write-ins. Let's say a handful of people misspell Alex Jones. Will they be, like, okay, we know what you're talking about?
So the guy who won the write-in for the Port of Waterman, I think it was, his name was, Jack something, but you know, Jack goes, is it John? Is it John, Jack? Is that the name they use? Anyway, they had different variations of that name, so, or they just put Jack. Okay. So we can run a report, say, show me all the voters in this particular Port of Waterman. He was only Jack in the Port of Waterman. And so, you know, so we were able to count those votes for him. But yeah, if they misspell a name and you know, yeah, they're gonna get that vote.
That's rarely do.
Yeah.
Very
Except for Alaska.
because-
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. If it was Alex Jones registered right in, we would actually have instructions, all the different variations. That would be like, if it looked like it was A-L-E-C Jones. Yeah, that would obviously be that, there's what their intent was. Or they spelled Jones without an E, you know, we would have a whole special procedures for that one writing race education. But it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it was just a very small district.
Yeah, and the only reason it.
Mhm.
And redates that.
You had a question, Lynn?
Are you able to share, under the observer guidelines, you mentioned disrupt the process? You know, I asked tons of questions and you guys were absolutely wonderful, in explaining everything, but what did someone do that disrupted the process?
So they were trying to talk to the workers as they were working. That's, you know, like I said, we have to get the
Yeah.
ballots counted and done by certification. So when you're stopping that process, we don't want that to happen. We want them to stay focused on what they're doing. And when you start asking questions, it, you know, it stops them from doing the work.
We're
Yeah.
demanding that stuff.
Yeah, but yeah.
In question, the individual doing signature chats, you know, things like that. Groups of people, which this will be so much easier in new ballot center, but groups of people having conversations over the top of people who are trying to focus on that, you know, that very important. Leaning against equipment. We have to stop at that point. No, I've touched the equipment, leaning against racks of
Ballots.
lot of those disruptive things. I mean, nobody's trying to disrupt the process.
Oh, one lady was.
Things. Well, yeah, we did have one.
We did.
But a lot of the disruptive things weren't intended to be disruptive, but they were disrupted by accident.
We just have to keep rolling, keep moving and get those ballots done. So that's our job. That's why we're here. Like I said, either you love elections or you hate elections. And we have people coming, oh yeah, I want to do this. And they're like, day one, yeah, this isn't for me. Great. You know, it's not for everyone, but some people, they get in here and they love what they do. And I think my whole crew we love what we do. You know, it's very important. So any other questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you. My crew is great. I always tell people I have the best crew in the state of Washington.
Give her a hand.